Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? Happy Tuesday. I hope you guys have had a great start to your week and that everything is going really well for you guys. It's starting to get chilly here, so sweaters are out, and I am super excited because it means that I'm getting a bunch of reading done. To be honest, it's all about the reading, right? I am coming to you today with part one of two-part videos that are actually going to be released within minutes of each other because I'm doing videos about the National Book Awards. So just in case you guys don't know, the National Book Awards, the winners are announced tomorrow, November 14th. So there are two categories where I wanted to sort of highlight the books that are up for the award. And I'm going to start today with this first video where I talk about the National Book Awards Fiction Shortlist. And then the next video that will come out moments later will be for the National Book Award Translated Fiction Shortlist. And I will go through all those books with you. So we might as well get started, right? So the books that are up, and as you guys may remember, I read the entire long list for the National Book Award. So I have my opinions, and I'm going to talk about them, and I'm going to pick a winner on this one because I have read all 5 of these and sort of give you my opinion, but just so we can rehash. The first book that is up on the short list is A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley. This is a short story collection out from Grey Wolf Press. And what to say? So Jamel Brinkley, this is his first published book, and he is an immensely talented writer. He has a way with language that has sort of a veracity and tenacity to it. He has a way of just painting a scene and a character in a very short period of times. His he deals as sort of his topic is sort of the masculinity and the how do they put it in here? They say it much better. Explores the charged, complex ties between men whose mistakes threaten their relationships with friends, lovers, family members. He just gives a voice, I want to say a new and unique voice to sort of this idea of what it is like to be a man dealing with relationships on many different levels, and sometimes when you just don't know how to deal with them. I really enjoyed his writing style. I think he's an immensely talented writer. But as you guys know, I always sort of struggle with short stories. The first short story for me was the absolute strongest, but I wanted it to be a novel. I wanted to know more about the characters. But I definitely think that this is an immensely strong collection and has a lot to say, and that we're going to be hearing a lot from Jamel Brinkley moving forward. I think he's a voice to reckon with. So that's A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley, again, out by Grey Wolf Press. And I should probably say I'm just doing these in the alphabetical order before I pick who I think is going to win the award. The next is the second short story collection on the list. I couldn't remember the last time there were 2 short story collections that made the short list, but this is Florida by Lauren Groff. Now, as you guys have known, I've talked about this a couple of times on my channel. Florida is a collection of short stories that sort of where the state of Florida has a presence in some shape or form in each of the narratives. Lauren Groff, again, she is actually one of my favorite writers. I loved all of her novels, Monsters of Templeton, Arcadia, Fates and Furies. I think they're all ridiculously amazing. And I think this is a really strong collection. I think what she does better than any of the other 5 people on the list is she has a way of sort of creating atmosphere that is unique all to herself. And you definitely feel when she says that Florida sort of goes through this entire collection, you feel it, you see it, you sense it. The stories reverberate with you about the people and the context. It's really hard to summarize short story collection because you don't want to give anything away. And I feel like they're short. That was a brilliant statement, Russell. So there's less to sort of play with when you're trying to speak to them. But Lauren Groff to me is one of our really talented writers. I think she has a lot to say. It's very interesting. I'm not surprised that this made the short list. And I think it's excellent. So that's Florida by Lauren Groff. The first novel that we're going to get to is Where the Dead Sit Talking. This is by, oh, you know what? I should say that Riverhead put out, Lauren Groff's collection. I love Riverhead. I just do. I actually love all publishers, let's be honest. Where the Dead Sit Talking by Brandon Hobson. This is out by Soho Press. This is the story of Sequoia. Sequoia is a Native American youth who is in foster care because his mother is in prison for her second drug-related incident. We learn throughout the story that his mother has really dealt with alcohol and drugs for a lot of her life, and just sort of not strong, very incomplete, very horrific, very traumatic relationships in her past. Sequoia is put into a house that's sort of in rural Oklahoma with an older couple that has 2 other foster children. I'm remembering her name. I want to say Rosemary. Yes. So Rosemary is a teenage girl that he is there with, and they form a very interesting relationship. Rosemary is a very troubled youth. Sequoia is a troubled youth. This to me is one of, on the list, it creates character. Sequoia is someone that you will never forget. Rosemary is complicated and interesting. Sequoia, he's dark, and some of the stuff and some of the thoughts that he has are very troubling, but they're so saddled in reality that you really believe that he could be a real person. I think the plot in and of itself becomes a little bit straightforward, but what he does amazingly well is create Oklahoma, create this young boy who is struggling with identity and who he wants to be, creates a relationship that's toxic but also fascinating, interesting, and filled with so much dynamic nature that you're really bought into Sequoia and Rosemary and the story and the foster care system and how that all plays out. I really like this book. This book to me is the one that I have talked the most about because to me it said something that I had never heard a lot about. So I really enjoyed Where the Dead Sit Talking. I hope more people read Brandon Hobson's book because I definitely think it deserves the attention that the short list gets. So there you go. The next book on the list to me is what I would say is the most complete novel, and that is The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. This story is broken into 2 sections. The first section is 1980 Chicago. We have Yale, who is a young adult male, gay male, who is dealing with the AIDS crisis in Chicago. He also is a person who works in an art gallery where he is trying to accrue a painting collection for the art gallery that has its own sort of mystery to it. And then the second section is set in, I think, 2015 France, where we have a mother who has gone there in search of her daughter. Her daughter had left and joined a cult and then had left the cult, and she has found out that she has a granddaughter, and she has been on the hunt for her daughter. All of this intertwines. Rebecca Makkai did an amazing amount of research into Chicago in the 80s, the AIDS epidemic, and it shows there's a sense of reality, of visceralness to the just utter devastation that the AIDS epidemic had on the gay community. And we usually associate it with New York, but the whole United States, the gay community across New York, or San Francisco, I should say, it really did impact, and she makes that so real. And then in the second section, this mother's struggle for connection with her daughter it just really has a sense of how real that could be. And the struggle between sometimes mothers and daughters and parents and brothers and just relationships and all. This book made me cry like 2, 3, 4 times. Yeah, it's so good. And this is one of those things where I finished this, I went and I bought Rebecca Mackai's entire backlist. I just thought she was brilliant. So that's The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. Last, but certainly not least, is I just think a little gem of a book, and that's The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. This is the story of our narrator whose best friend at the start of the book has committed suicide. And in everything that goes on, she winds up being the caretaker for his Great Dane. And this is a meditation on loss. This is a meditation. She writes the entire book from the point of view of this woman writing to her friend who has committed suicide. It is It is really thought-provoking, but this is one of those books, if you guys haven't seen me yet, I was just in a video on Simon Savage's channel where I talk about how I don't need a lot of plot for a book to have momentum for me. This is one of those books. This is a woman's meditation on loss. So there's not a lot of plot and direction, but to me, this is a book that will make you think, it will make you feel, it will make you ache. There's twists, there's turns. You definitely will think one way and then things will happen. So I think that's great. I think the cover is fantastic. And I really loved The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. It's my kind of book. I definitely think if you are in the veins of anything by John Williams, like The Stoner, or Department of Speculation by Jenny Olaf. Anything where you like books that tackle a topic and just sort of give you nuggets to think and to massacate and to just really live in, I really recommend this novel. So that's The Friend by Sigrid Nunez. So, as you can tell, this is your short list. These are the 5 books that will be vying for the award tomorrow. As you guys already know from my long list video, to me, of the long list, I thought Heads of the Color People by Nafisi Thomas Spears was my clear winner. And I loved that book. Loved that collection of short stories. I think it was brilliant, and I was heartbroken that it didn't make the short list. What do I think will win tomorrow? I really do think that Jamel Brinkley's A Lucky Man is going to win the award tomorrow. I think that it has a unique voice. It's really strong. It's written brilliantly, and it has something new and important to say. And I think that Jamel Brinkley is just brilliant. So I think this will actually win the award tomorrow. If I had to pick my favorite from these 5, I would pick The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. To me, this was the one where I got the most engrossed. I was totally involved in every minute of this book. I was reading it on vacation. I would skip parts of the trip just because I wanted to finish this book. I flew through it. So there's sort of my winners. I think tomorrow, my money would be on A Lucky Man by Jamel Brinkley. My heart is behind The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkai. Have you guys read any of these? Of the 5, which do you think is going to win the award tomorrow? I hope you guys have read them all. I definitely think they all have something very interesting and amazing to say. So tune in tomorrow for the November 14th announcement of the National Book Award. I'm super excited and I will be on board. So until next time, if you are a return subscriber, as always, thank you so very much. If you are new to my channel, I hope you like this video. I hope all of these are on your TBR, you've read them, or they make it onto your TBR now. And until next time, happy reading. Bye!